4. The man who dipped a hunk of ice cream in chocolate, placed a stick in it for a handle, and called it Eskimo pie, used synthetic imagination and started a new industry which still has a widespread outlet and grosses annually a huge sum. It is safe to assume that the creator of this simple plan of merchandising was well compensated for his use of his synthetic imagination. 5. F.W. Woolworth made use of synthetic imagination by the simple procedure of setting up a retail store in which a large variety of merchandise retailing at 5 and 10 cents per item was offered to the public, and lived to see his merchandising innovation start a series of similar retail stores which gross annually many millions of dollars in sales and made Woolworth rich in the bargain. Now, I shall give you some examples of creative imagination. 1. Edison's invention of the phonograph was the outgrowth of creative imagination because no part of his invention had ever been known or used previously. 2. Signor Marconi's invention of wireless communication was also the outgrowth of creative imagination because it was based on basically new ideas which never had been used previously. He was the first to discover the means by which the ether could be made to take the place of wires in the transmission of sound. 3. Madame Curie's discovery of radium was also the outgrowth of creative imagination because no one before her had ever revealed either the actual existence of radium or the method by which it could be recovered or refined. 4. Wilbur and Orville Wright's perfection of the modern airplane was partly the result of creative imagination and partly the result of synthetic imagination, because others previous to their time had discovered some of the ideas they used successfully, but they were the first to coordinate those ideas, so they worked. 5. Robert G. Letourneau made effective use of creative imagination by building heavy dirt-removing machinery, which involved ideas never before used, although he was practically unskilled in engineering and had very little schooling of any kind. I worked with Mr. Letourneau for a year and a half, during which I saw him in action many times when he was drawing entirely upon the faculty of creative imagination and receiving his ideas from sources outside of his own immediate education or knowledge. Now let me give you a few suggestions as to how you may be able to make profitable use of your imagination, keeping in mind that the faculty of your imagination, like every other faculty of your mind, becomes stale through disuse and alert through use. 1. Create a system of merchandising which can be carried on by the operators of gasoline filling stations throughout the nation, and you may make your idea yield you more profit than Clarence Saunders made from his Piggly Wiggly store plan. Perhaps the system would consist of items which could be dispensed by coin in the slot machines. 2. Create a plan or system which will cause motorists to be as courteous and thoughtful of others on the highway as they are in their own homes, and you may cut down the outrageous death rate by automobile accidents and make yourself both popular and rich. Perhaps you might add to this idea some plan of engineering by which public highways would be so operated as to force motorists to drive with greater care. And you might also create some practical plan by which motorists of good reputation would be deputized as auxiliary traffic officers with two-way radios in their cars and authority to give tickets and make arrests. 3. Create a satisfactory substitute for cigarettes, and you may make yourself richer than you need to be. 4. Give me an acceptable method for taking these principles of success to children of the graded school age, and I will tell you how to make yourself rich both in money and in happiness, which comes from contributions of service which benefit posterity by improving the youth. Give me a plan which will arouse and alert people to recognize and make use of the potential of their own minds, and I will give you a job for the remainder of your life at pay which perhaps you never dreamed of getting. 6. Bring me an acceptable storybook slanted to the interest of children from 6 to 12 years of age, based upon the 17 principles of the science of success, and I will ensure the publication and distribution of the book on a scale which will make you richer than you need to be. This idea probably can be best refined through the mind of a woman who understands children, loves them, and can speak in terms that will get their attention. And right here, in case you have not already recognized the fact, I am bringing you very near the point where people sometimes tune in on their creative imagination and come up with ideas which benefit great numbers of people and make themselves popular and rich. I am going to give you these suggestions solely as inspiration intended to introduce you to your faculty of creative imagination. All the good ideas have been used up, did I hear you say? Quite to the contrary, the best ideas are yet to be revealed and put into service of mankind. There are no more opportunities to become rich, did I hear you say? Listen, please, for I have an answer for this one. The Napoleon Hill Associates are engaged in the business of helping people with sound ideas to bring them forth and give them to the world in return for riches. If you have an idea you think is good, write me about it, and I will give you my opinion of it. If you have a sound idea which you think will benefit those with whom or for whom you work, write me about it, and I will tell you what to do with it. If you have discovered a better way of doing anything, write me about it, and I will offer you suggestions for benefiting by your discovery. If you will give me an acceptable plan for influencing married people to adopt and use the mastermind principle in their domestic relations, you may benefit many millions of people in homes where harmony does not now prevail, and make for yourself a reputation worthy of a king's ransom. If you have a better idea or plan for the use of salesmen in any field of selling, your idea may help millions of salesmen to increase their incomes and bring you a reward worthy of the value of your idea. If you can create an idea which will help retail store owners to display their merchandise to better advantage so as to increase their sales, write me about your idea, and if I believe it sound, I will tell you what to do with it. I am still talking to you about exercising your faculty of imagination, but I am limited as to the number of ideas I can give you in so short a time. But I will give you some more useful ideas in my next visit. Imagination is a trait which becomes alert only by constant action based on the success principles I have described in these visits. You are the one who must supply this action. The rules of accurate thinking are so clear and simple that I often wonder why so few people ever take time to learn the rules, since accurate thinking is the very foundation of all successful achievements. In this visit, I shall give you a working description of the rules of accurate thinking, which all successful people follow. First of all, accurate thinking is based on two simple fundamentals. They are called inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is used when the necessary facts on which to base your thinking are not available. In this case, you act on hypotheses, or what you assume the facts to be. Deductive reasoning is used when you have the facts or what appear to be the facts on which to base your thinking. The next step in accurate thinking is to separate facts from fiction, or hearsay evidence, and determine whether you are dealing with hypotheses or real facts. When you are sure you have dependable facts on which to base your thinking, you take the second step by separating these facts into two classes. One is important facts, and the other is unimportant facts. When you do this, you may be surprised at the overwhelmingly greater number of unimportant facts you deal with daily than there are important facts. At this point, you are almost sure to want to ask the question, what is an important fact, and how can I distinguish it from an unimportant fact? And I shall give you the answer to this very important question by saying that an important fact is any fact which will aid you to any extent whatsoever in attaining the object of your major purpose in life. And all other facts, as far as you are concerned, are unimportant, and you should waste no time with them. After this visit is over, you can employ the next hour to a great benefit to yourself if you will set down on paper a list of all the facts you dealt with yesterday, separating them into two classes, important and unimportant. As a matter of fact, you will make a profound discovery regarding accurate thinking if you follow the habit of daily taking inventory of all the facts that claimed your attention during the day, putting them down on paper in two separate columns, one labeled important facts and the other labeled unimportant facts. Now let us turn our attention to the subject of opinions and see to what extent loose, unsound opinions are mistaken for accurate thinking. To start with, let us recognize the truth that most opinions are without value because they are based on bias, prejudice, intolerance, guesswork, hearsay evidence, and out-and-out ignorance. These are harsh words I'm using, and they represent the source of most of the tragedies of life which people meet with unnecessarily. And I would say that of all the tragedies which cause misery and failure, none is more merciless or destructive than those which grow out of the indifference of people who make no attempt to learn how to think accurately. I shall never forget an experience I had with President Woodrow Wilson while I was working for him during World War I. I asked the president what effect he believed World War I would have on civilization, and his reply was brief, but it was a masterpiece which you should remember as long as you live. "I cannot answer your question," said the president, "because I have no facts on which to base an opinion." If you will remember Woodrow Wilson's 15-word speech every time you are about to express an opinion about anything, the chances are that you will soon get out of the habit of expressing or even having opinions not based on something more substantial than biases, prejudices, and emotional feelings which often serve as fathers to facts. You will learn, if you observe carefully, that the more successful a person is, the less he is inclined to express wild, unjustified opinions about anything. Also, you must have observed already that the drifters who are suffering with frustrations because they recognize they are failures usually have an assortment of opinions on about everything you can imagine. When I hear someone expressing a definite opinion about something of which I have definite reason to believe he knows little or nothing, I think of an experience I had when I stopped a Quaker on the streets of Philadelphia and asked him the time of day. He took out his watch, examined it carefully, and then in a slow, emphatic tone of voice he said, "Well, sir, according to this alleged timepiece, it appears to be approximately 1 minute and 10 seconds past 12 o'clock.